Hey, Jerry, call for you.
Hello?
Yeah, you're a bipedal simian now in a gravity of 9.8 MPS. Don't get any ideas.
So much mass.
You let anyone do that?
He gave us all the money he had.
What if Rick became so consumed by alcoholism that he couldn't even remember the passwords to his own laboratory? To solve that problem, he creates a mysterious friend named Reese. But when Morty tries to save him, he accidentally sparks a war against an entire world of pigmen and turns Rick's own security system into his worst enemy. The episode opens with Rick stumbling out of a portal in an extreme state of drunkenness. He can barely stay on his feet, struggles to walk, and even ends up wetting himself. He's in such terrible shape that he can hardly put a sentence together. Even so, he attempts to access the system that controls his entire laboratory so he can activate his equipment, only to realize that he can't remember the password. Frustration quickly takes over as he tries one combination after another, until by accident he triggers the lab's lockdown protocol instead of unlocking the system. With no idea what to do next, Rick starts yelling for Morty. When Morty arrives, the first thing he notices is the overwhelming smell of alcohol and urine. Seeing Rick in such a pathetic condition, he becomes genuinely concerned, and even offers to make him breakfast, or dinner, whatever he wants. Rick, however, takes the gesture as pity. True to his pride, he insists that he only had a few drinks, and doesn't need anyone treating him differently. Eventually, Rick snaps at the machine, complaining that it won't let him in. Morty immediately realizes that Rick himself is the cause of the problem, although Rick refuses to admit it. In a burst of anger, he punches the device, only to be blasted by a powerful electric shock that sends him flying to the floor. Right in the middle of the chaos, Rick receives a call from someone who apparently both he and Morty know. A man named Reese.
You're in town? Of course we can. Of course I'm drunk. Let's see you soon. Guess who that was?
It was Reese. You said it out loud.
Morty gets so excited that he instantly forgets about Rick yelling at him. Moments later, Reese arrives, and both Rick and Morty enthusiastically shout his name. The scene then shifts to a river, where the three of them are fishing together like old friends. Morty worries that the fish he just caught is about to get away, but Reese shares a few words of wisdom that not only make him a better companion, but also a better fly fisherman. Rick, still heavily intoxicated, can't stop messing with Morty, so Reese steps in to calm things down. Later, high up in the mountains, the three gather around a campfire. Morty realizes he can't find the space marshmallows, and Rick gets irritated, reminding him that the last time they went on a trip, he actually remembered to bring them. Once again, Reese steps in to diffuse the tension.
More patient with Morty, Rick. Not everyone can be a genius. It's what you do with what you got that counts.
Sorry, Morty. I could take it easier on you. I'm still wired from catching all those fish.
Well, you'd find a way to get high on anything.
Ain't that the truth?
At that moment, Rick receives a mysterious notification, and almost simultaneously, Reese gets one on his phone as well. After reading it, Reese announces that he has to cut the adventure short because he has other commitments to take care of. When they return home, the security system that had locked down the laboratory has already been resolved. Reese says goodbye to Morty and promises he'll be back soon. But just then, a raccoon wanders into the garage trying to steal one of the fish. Reese instantly activates a defense mechanism and eliminates the animal after identifying it as a threat. He then scans the area, detects no additional danger, and returns to normal. That's when Morty finally discovers the truth.
Okay, so Morty, I know your instinct will be to make a big deal about this. You'll be all betrayal.
We've known him for years. So Reese takes us camping whenever you get locked out? Oh my God, am I your fucking password?
It's more complex than that. But yes, our relationship is unique in the multiverse. There, jerk off to it. It's what you always wanted. We're unique and I depend on you.
Now that Morty knows Reese is nothing more than a living key that Rick uses whenever he forgets his passwords, Rick is forced to create a brand new Reese to convince Morty that he's actually a completely different friend. Upset by what he's learned, Morty heads back to his room. Meanwhile, Rick resumes drinking what seems like an endless supply of liquor from an unbelievably tiny bottle. Beth approaches her father, confused and asks how such a tiny bottle could possibly hold so much alcohol. Using his trademark absurd logic, Rick explains that the bottle is actually a portal to an entire world made of vodka, where tiny pigmen work non-stop to keep it permanently full. After saying that, Rick ends the conversation by announcing that he's going to empty his bottle, an obvious way of saying that he plans to keep drinking until he's completely drunk again. Sometime later, after everyone has cooled off, Morty decides to make peace with Rick. But when he returns to the garage, he discovers that Rick is simply planning to dispose of Reese. Before doing so, however, he needs to transfer every password stored inside Reese's brain. Even though Reese isn't a real human being, Morty can't bring himself to let Rick simply erase him. So he shoves Rick aside, locks down the laboratory security system once again, grabs Reese, and escapes with him into the basement. Rick tries to reason with Morty, repeatedly telling him that Reese is nothing more than a program designed to unlock his computer. But to Morty, Reese isn't a tool. He's his friend.
Well, then where are we casting off?
There's an old landline portal down here, level 17. We'll figure it out from there.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Maybe a lighter touch.
Meanwhile, Rick attempts to break through the hatch leading to the basement, only to discover that it's practically indestructible. With no other option, he contacts the customer support center for the company that installed the laboratory security system, because essentially, he's locked himself out after leaving the keys inside. Since the technician needs remote access to the system in order to help, Rick comes up with a rather bizarre solution. He walks over to Jerry, holds the phone against his ear, and uploads the support assistant's cloud connection directly into Jerry's brain. As a result, the technician takes control of Jerry's body and begins inspecting the situation firsthand. After examining the basement hatch, the technician discovers that it has been reinforced with modifications personally made by Rick to increase the lab's security. However, those upgrades completely void the warranty, so he informs Rick that the repair will be far more complicated and take much longer than expected.
I'd have to dig it all out. Is there a place where I could get tools and things for this?
A hardware store?
Yes.
And you're not just stalling because you want to take this new body out for a sensory flight of fancy?
No. Remember, whole sub-basement dug out!
Meanwhile, Morty takes Reese down to level 17 of the laboratory, but first they must pass through level 16, the prison where Rick keeps countless dangerous threats locked away. Since Morty doesn't have the keys to get inside, he deliberately slams himself against the door to activate Reese's defense system. The plan works perfectly, and Reese destroys the entrance with a single strike. Once inside, Morty discovers that all the prisoners have already killed one another. Although the sight is horrifying, it's also a relief because facing them himself would have been far more dangerous. At the same time, Rick has dug around the entire house, exposing the underground laboratory structure in an attempt to reach the basement from the outside. But the technician controlling Jerry's body has no interest in finding the proper tool to open the hatch. Instead, he decides to visit a car wash and enjoy all the sensations that come with experiencing a physical body for the first time. Meanwhile, Morty finally reaches level 17, where the machine capable of giving Reese a new life awaits. Together, they select a destination, a world with a massive river, and step into the device that transports them there. But when they arrive, they quickly realize reality is nothing like they expected.
Excuse me, is there still forest around here?
What's that? Oh no, not since the god in the white coat run his holy silo.
Oh, wow, yeah, that guy's my grandpa. This is Reese. He works for him too. Password man.
Oh, I may be putting down roots here.
Please do. Now, if y'all excuse me, I'm needed at a high-tech potato distillery.
Well, we did it, Reese. It's the first day of the rest of your life.
Before today, I was a two-factor authenticator with a vague southern affect. Now, I can be whatever I want. Thank you, Morty.
You're welcome, Reese. Wade with the current.
I'll probably do something else. Fishing's boring.
Back with Rick, Jerry finally returns carrying what is supposedly the tool needed to solve the problem. Instead of using any special equipment, however, he simply places his hands on the hatch and uses his own abilities to disable the security system. In other words, Rick excavated his entire house for absolutely nothing. Just then, Morty comes out to explain to Rick that he decided to give Reese a second chance by sending him to a world inhabited by pigmen. the very same place responsible for keeping Rick's tiny vodka bottle endlessly supplied. What Morty never realized is that those pig men actually work for Rick and rely on some of his technology. The moment Reese arrives, they hack into him, and thanks to all the passwords stored inside his brain, they gain complete access to the laboratory. Almost instantly, Rick's own defense system turns against him. Every automated weapon in the lab begins attacking, while the furniture throughout the house is revealed to be robots in disguise, activating and launching an assault on the entire family. During a call with the leader of the pigmen, Rick takes advantage of the fact that the technician is controlling Jerry's body and transfers himself directly into the resistance leader, allowing him to fight the rebellion from the inside. Thanks to this move, he manages to wipe out all the pigmen who were organizing the uprising. With the threat seemingly under control, Rick manages to reach a control room where he can completely shut down the house's electrical system. Once the power goes out, every robot and every device that could potentially be hacked is immediately disabled. But the pigmen still have one last card to play. Rick's vodka bottle, which is actually a portal to their world, is used by Reese to travel to Earth and confront Rick and Morty face to face. Reese unleashes his entire arsenal, and because the power remains off, Rick can no longer activate the house's automated defenses. Both he and Morty are easily overwhelmed and end up completely at Reese's mercy. As the two argue with each other, Reese experiences a brief moment of clarity and decides to let them go before collapsing to the ground just seconds later. Rick immediately takes advantage of the opportunity to permanently destroy Reese's brain, along with every password stored inside it, eliminating any chance that he could ever become a threat again. Now, a new problem emerges. After digging around the entire house to expose the underground laboratory, Rick has to fill everything back in before the structure eventually collapses.
How much longer is he gonna be dead for?
I like him.
Me too.
Summer just taught me what push-ups are.
I did. He's fucking nailing them.
Mom?
Oh, one more week?
What?
No, you're right. It was good getting to know you, the Smiths.
Wait!
Morty, him leaving was your idea.
Well, I have another idea!
Since the technician ended up helping them, and everyone actually liked him, Rick decides to reward him by rebuilding Reese's body so the technician can transfer his consciousness into it. As a result, the former customer support agent is given an entirely new life. Morty says goodbye to him, and thanks to that decision, Reese is ultimately allowed to keep living. As his final act, Rick completely destroys the world of the pigmen, promises that he will never use those portals again, and then proceeds to drink several bottles of vodka. Afterward, he tells Morty that one day he'll end up just like him, because according to Rick, alcoholism is a genetic curse that's passed down through families, and Morty already has it. In the post-credit scene, we once again find Rick completely drunk with his security system locked, exactly as it was at the beginning of the episode. At that moment, a man named Rex walks in, and Morty immediately attacks him, believing he's just another one of Rick's robots. Moments later, however, Morty realizes he was wrong, and that Rex was never a threat at all. Just then, Rick receives a call from someone he claims is an old friend they've somehow never heard about before, a man named Georgie Boy. When he finally arrives, he's almost identical to Reese, making it obvious that Rick has simply created another living key to help him unlock his security system whenever he forgets his passwords. And with the exact same problem that started the story, the episode comes to an end.